Now, once a long time ago, there was a soldier. He served in war, bravely, but when it was all done, he went to receive his commission from the king, and what did he receive? 3 gold shillings and a pat on the back, basically. So, our soldier, he was furious, but he knew from his experiences in the war that with the right people by his side, he could accomplish anything. So he set off to find some new comrades who could help him out. He went off into the forest, and first he met a woodsman who was so strong he could just tear up trees by the roots like they were blades of grass. Next, he found a marksman who was so keen-eyed and so skilled, he could shoot the left eye off of a fly sitting on a tree acres away. Next, he found a man with gale-force lungs so powerful that he could turn the sails on 7 windmills just by blowing out of 1 nostril. Then, he met a man who had only 1 leg, but though he wore a wooden one, sometimes he'd take it off and just kind of carry it with him, because if he wore it, he would run so fast that he'd go faster than any bird could fly. Last, he met a man who kept his hat cocked to one side all the time, because if he ever wore it right, a great frost would cover everything around him. So now we've got our cast of heroes: a soldier, a strong man, marksman, the blower, the runner, and the frost man. And these 6 comrades went off to see the king. Now they got to the castle, and the king was holding a great contest at that time. Whoever could beat his daughter in a foot race would win her hand in marriage. Whoever lost against her would lose their head. Now, the soldier went in and he said, "I accept your challenge, but my friend here will run in my place," indicating the runner. And the king accepted, because no one had actually won yet. So the next day, the race was set. The rules of the race were as follows. Each runner would carry a pitcher, and they'd run to a far-off well. And they'd fill the pitcher with water, and then they'd run back, and whoever came back with their full pitcher was the winner. So they were all on their mark. The runner was strapping on his leg. The signal was given, and off they went. The princess was fast. The runner was faster. He got all the way to the well, filled the pitcher up with water, started blazing back, passing by the princess on his way. But he's going along, he's like, you know what? I don't really need to go that fast, because, she's way back there. You know what? I'm just going to pull off to the side and catch some Z's. So he goes off, and he lays down. He takes a horse's skull that's just lying by the side of the road and sticks it behind his head and just kind of starts dozing off. Well, he must have slept longer than he expected, because the princess comes up. She's like, well, this serves him right. Picks up his pitcher, dumps it out, puts it back, and goes on past him. But this was not unseen, for who was in one of the tall towers of the castle watching but the marksman with his keen eyes? He's like, well, I guess I've got to wake him up. He raises his rifle, and knocks the horse's skull out from under the runner's head, wakes him up. He looks at his pitcher and says, well, I guess now I've really got to pour on the speed. He blazes to that well, fills it up, blazes back, passes by the princess, and wins the race. His friends were elated. The king was not so elated. And the princess was beside herself. She's like, Daddy, do I really have to marry a common soldier? It's like, now let me take care of this, sweetie. Now the king had a special room he used for uninvited guests. It looked like a normal room, except the floors were iron and the walls were iron, and it was positioned in such a way that his cook could start a raging fire underneath it and basically cook alive whoever was inside. So he goes to the soldier, says, that was a fine race. You know what? You men deserve a feast. I've set up a room for you with a table and chairs and all the food you can eat. So he leads them to the room, brings them lets him inside. There's food spread out everywhere. They sit down. He leaves, locks the door behind him, and gives the word to start the fire. Now they're eating, and it starts to get kind of hot in there. It's like, oh, why is it so hot? You know what? Someone open the door. Let some air in. They go, and the door is locked. And it starts to get hotter and hotter. Well, who should step up but our friend, the Frost Man? It's like, well, I can take care of that. He uncovers his ear, which is the clue that the frost is going to come, and everything starts to get colder, and the heat starts to dissipate. Little icicles start to form on the roast turkey. Pretty soon, it gets to a reasonably comfortable temperature. The king comes back to check on him, knocks on the door, he's like, how you doing in there? We're fine. It's a little chilly. He goes back to check on the fire, it's still burning. He comes back, he opens the door, they all come out. He sees frost all over the place. He's like, okay. You know what? We're not crazy about this match. I was wondering, could we settle this for a bag of gold? The soldier's like, a bag of gold? It's like, as much as one man can carry. As much as one man can carry? Your Highness, you've got a deal. So our 6 heroes leave, and what they do is they round up every seamstress and tailor in the area, and they have them sew together a giant bag. When it's folded up, it looks like a huge heap of linen. And they hand it to our friend the strong man. Now, the next day they return, and he's carrying this giant sack on his shoulder, all folded up. He's like, that can't be the bag. There's no way any man could lift that. And he's like, well, we'll give it a try. He takes the bag, spreads it out. Says, all right, bring it in. Bring in the gold. So they start bringing it in sacks. They throw it in. It's like, bottom's not even covered yet. They start bringing it in barrels, dumping it in. It's like, nope, not quite yet. So next they start bringing it in carts. And the strongman sometimes just takes the whole cart, cart and all. I'd like to think he took the horses away and the oxen, but he just threw the whole thing in there. Eventually, the treasury was emptied. He just looked inside. He's like, well, it's not full yet, but it'll have to do. Just ties it up and throws the gigantic thing on his shoulder and starts to leave with his comrades. Now the king's looking at this and he is livid. He's like, I don't care what I promised. I don't care what I said. I want every soldier to go follow them and get back that gold. So he sends out the infantry, he sends out the cavalry. If there were water, I'm sure he'd send out the navy. And they all come up behind him. But who's bringing up the rear of this group? Our friend with the gale force lungs, the blower. He's like, well, so that's how it is, huh? Well, I think it's time you men had a little dance about in the air. The soldiers scattered like leaves into the air, falling down. The ones who could get back up ran back to the king, told him what happened. And the king is just like, just let him go. Let them go. There's some kind of magic in them. It's just, we just don't want to mess with them anymore. But our 6 friends were doing well. They went back home. They split up the treasure amongst themselves, gave a little to charity, I'm sure, war orphans, war widows. But they lived in peace and contentment for the rest of their days.